Hi guys, I think we're going to get started with the next presentation. My name is Ben. I'm with Jump Crypto. Some of you may know me as one of the organizers of the Solana bootcamp that we ran last week in this space. And if you attended that, I hope you enjoyed the experience and maybe were motivated to build something yourself. Now, that experience is pretty near and dear to my heart and several others in this room because we all kind of went through the first bootcamp experience back in October at the Hoxton, and it was a much smaller operation back then. But what I'm going to be talking about today is a project that Jump is heavily involved in, and it grew out directly from that first Solana bootcamp. So we had Professor Jerry and close collaboration with him and Larry throughout this project. And so I want to focus and to speak to a few of the folks in this room. You know, I understand this is a large contingent of the folks here are Pyth data providers, maybe more tuned into the traditional finance role. Maybe you're a little crypto curious. You step foot into the data provision part of Pyth, but maybe you're not sure about what to do next. And so here I have, this is a tweet from our president, Konov, who will be, I think, speaking right after me. But it highlights the opportunity to have about 15 of Jump's quantitative researchers spend 4 months going through the Jump crypto rotation. And I really want to stress that point, that these quant researchers, some of which are in the room now, are top talent, hired for Jump trading, hired for a finance firm, and they had access to learn from the feet of the master, Professor Jerry, and had the opportunity to be kind of red-pilled into the crypto environment. And you know, I had a very similar kind of transition myself. My background is what Jump is known for, which is the high-frequency trading part of the business. I spent about 5 years at a firm called Gecko, which later bought Knight, became KCG. Now it's Virtu. If you guys were here for Mike Cahill's presentation, we actually overlapped for some time at KCG. And so I came over to Jump in 2016 and worked as a quant researcher for about 5 years. In April, the trading team that I was a part of merged into Jump Crypto. And the backstory there is simply this, that there was a lot of wood to chop, and the team, our team Jump, was pretty good at swinging axes, and so we came aboard in April of last year. One of the most common questions I get from interview candidates when they hear about my background, kind of straddling both the TradFi and the crypto worlds, you know, about 10 years in HFT, about 9 months now in crypto, which feels like 2 or 3 years, by the way. One of the biggest questions I get is, you know, what was that experience like? How do you compare the two? And so for this crowd that's maybe more native to finance, can anyone recognize that picture? Anyone? You could just yell it out. Mike. Matt Levine. We call him Papa Levine around here. So I actually sent him an email 2 weeks ago to ask him to do me the favor of reading and recording 2 paragraphs that I've paraphrased and used a lot in answering this question, but he didn't respond. So you're getting my rendition of Matt Levine, and so this is from a column that he wrote back in May. So this is a month after I joined, and it just resonated so deeply with me. The column was called "Crypto Markets Are Where the Fun Is At," and yeah, it just resonated. And he's way more articulate of a speaker, a writer than I am. So I'm just gonna do something a little goofy and read those 2 paragraphs, which I've done maybe even to some folks in this room here. So it goes like this. He says, obviously one aspect of this story is that if you are a futures trader or electronic market maker or derivative structurer in traditional finance, you work very hard to scratch out a few basis points in a competitive industry. If you move to the much shaggier crypto industry, there's less competition in the relevant senses of well-capitalized players with good technology, and access to leverage and pricing models, and you can potentially make a lot more money a lot more easily. If you work on Wall Street, you probably like money, so moving to a place that gives you more money is pretty tempting. But another aspect of it is that if you work on Wall Street, particularly as a derivatives structurer or high-frequency trading developer or securities lawyer, you actually like this stuff. You're there because you are fascinated by structure, because you enjoy puzzling out the technical details and trying to find new ways to push on them. In traditional finance, this is all sort of saturated and competitive. Not only is it hard to get rich by coming up with a new derivative structure or trading algorithm, which I'm familiar with, but it's hard to even get the intellectual satisfaction of doing that because so much of what is possible has already been done, and innovation tends to be technical and incremental. Whereas in crypto, it can feel like more of a blank slate, or at least like a different foundation where it takes ingenuity to re-erect the old structures. So I just want to, this is back to Ben talking. I 110% agree with Matt's take, and just to add to that, I'm thoroughly enjoying the experience because the rate of learning that I have in the crypto ecosystem is probably the highest it's been outside of school, and maybe even including MIT or even high school and all that. There's never a dull moment in crypto. So I want to kind of get back. That was an aside just to speak to this audience, which might be more coming from the TradFi angle, but I want to talk about Extend, and I thought one kind of fun way, NFTs are fun, they're lighthearted, is to get into a segment where we can name the NFT, and I know with Keone here, at least there won't be a shortage of answers. So picking up the story, right? We were at the first Solana bootcamp, we learned Rust, we had access to Jerry, we figured out RPC calls, but we also aped pretty hard into NFTs. And Keone airdropped us a bunch of NFTs and got everyone set up with a Phantom wallet. So minting them, buying them on the secondary market, Magic Eden, Solana. We even started building trading APIs so we could buy and we could list things automatically, parsing collection attributes to generate our own indicators of rarity. So with that said, anybody recognize this collection? It'll be Keone versus the field. The slow patrol, that's right. So the supply of 8,888, mid price of 0.69, current floor price of 0.1. What about I think this was the very first NFT that I minted. Space Bums. Oh, sorry, I gave it away. It's Space Bums. Supply of 10,000, mid price of 1.0, also currently trading around 0.1. How about this one? I won't give it away this time. Ani, these are the burbs, the Solana burbs. Supply a little over 5,000, min price of 0.5, also current floor price of around 0.1. And these are denominated in SOL, so I don't know what SOL is, like 140 or something around there. Back then, I think it was a little bit more expensive. How about these? This got some good marketing around it. You might have read about it in mainstream news. Anyone recognize this collection? All right. The Loogies. There you go, Keone. And so this had a supply of 8,000, min price of 0.8. It hasn't fallen quite as much. Current floor price of 0.2. But this had kind of a narrative around it, right? Each one has their own kind of shtick, right? And this one was, it was done by a 14-year-old, and there's some very wholesome clips of her celebrating this collection, and I think they ended up donating like 200,000 for various charities, including beluga whales and so forth. So, it's not all degeneracy out there. Civil cities, that's right. So this is kind of pivoting away from everything that we've seen so far has been like kind of that profile picture thing. Like you could take that, you could save as, right? And like you can upload it onto Twitter or upload it onto Discord. And that could be your new profile picture. And in this case, it's hard to imagine, your avatar being a floating city. And I think it's more for the artwork. But this was minted at a higher price of 1.9. Supply was close to 10 grand. And the current floor price is the lowest of the board. It's 0.04. So this has fallen quite a bit, in part because it's somewhat derivative of an Ethereum collection. So back to profile pictures. This is a pretty well-known collection on Solana. DGods. I don't know who said that, but yeah, that's right. So this is actually minted at 3, and I think it is currently at floor price of 5. So it's actually been profitable to hold on to this. Has some elements of the Solana monkey business. Maybe a little bit bigger in the cranium. This is actually a collection that, when we were over in Lisbon, Simon texted out to the group, "Hey, there's all these posters around here advertising this mint." So Mike and I bought a few. It's not one of our proudest moments. So they're 1969 and only 54 ever minted. Also with the mint price of 0.69. So there's no floor price. I don't think it got picked up by any collections. But yeah. So this is another application. This is something that Keone gifted me. Does anyone recognize this? I'd be surprised if anyone did. It might be a gimme for Keone. Yep, there you go. This is riding off of Evan's presentation. This is actually called the Wormhole project, and the supply was 500. The design used was as kind of like a Twitter banner or a background there. It's also fallen a little bit in value. Does anyone know what this is? Anyone seen these icons before? We're kind of segging our way into Extend. I know it's been a while since we've actually brought it back, but going back to our story, the second week of the bootcamp was a hackathon. I kind of mentioned we got into building an API for trading NFTs. Other folks did things like building on-chain randomness, or even, some people were playing backgammon on DevNet by the time demo day came around. But the fun didn't really stop at the bootcamp, and so the quant researchers, some of them are over here, were with Jump Crypto for another 4 months, and we had big ideas. One of them was releasing a collection of 1 million NFTs in collaboration with Metaplex, obviously the home of the Candy Machine and kind of the Solana NFT standard. And so the idea was to demonstrate the scalability of Solana in a very simple way. And so the art was kind of secondary here. So, I just kind of put it out there. The supply would be 1 million, the mint price 0, and just looking back at the collections that we've highlighted before, like the mint price and then the current floor price, most of them have fallen. All of them except for DGods has fallen. And so when you look at this from a speculation perspective, right, you can't get much lower than 0. So it feels pretty safe. And so at the time, I think loot was firmly entrenched in people's minds, and so we thought, if you could just take text, you just mint a number, and maybe that's good enough. And so what I think, just kind of zooming out here, what is the core gameplay loop for most people dealing with NFTs. I think for us, during the boot camp, we were developing tools and we were trying to arb things on different marketplaces. But I think for most people, they're not quite as dedicated to the development side. And what is a core gameplay loop? In Call of Duty, it's you find a target, you shoot the target, you move to the next target. Pretty simple. But I think for NFTs, the answer, when we look at what activity was going on at the Hacker House back in October, it's you join the Discord, or maybe you buy or you mint some NFTs, you join the Discord, but then you go where the action is hot, right? You move on to the next hot collection. Optionally, you can change your profile picture on Twitter or Discord. But we didn't want this collection to just be a kind of a one and done proof of concept, simple. I don't know if Bartosz showed up, but simple, that's weak in his vocabulary. So he suggested something a little bit, based on the simple mathematical fact, 1,000 times 1,000 equals 1,000,000. And so this is a screenshot from the Reddit place experiment that happened in 2017 on April Fool's Day. They kind of opened up this 1,000 by 1,000 pixel canvas and enabled registered users to click on a pixel, change the color. You could edit it. Everyone could view it, but only registered users could change the color of a single pixel. And then 72 hours after the creation of this canvas, they kind of locked it up. Over 1 million users had edited the canvas. Over 90,000 users were concurrently either viewing or changing the colors and editing. And so we wondered, could this be done on the Solana blockchain? Could an NFT correspond to an X and Y coordinate such that the owner had the ability to change the pixel color? And so kind of zooming out again to Web 2, Web 3, there's a lot of conversation and buzz around that. But Reddit, the Reddit subreddit place was deep in Web 2 country, right? Reddit had full control over this canvas. They could, I don't know if it's the subreddit moderators or the Reddit admin team, but they could censor the results. Users, if they wanted to change the pixels, had to be registered. But could this idea be converted into a Web3 idea on the blockchain? And so, going back to the idea of a ticket and individual numbers being minted, going from that to a 2D canvas that supports color changes and has permissioning associated with it, the tech lift was significantly higher than running a JavaScript command to initialize a Candy machine or to upload a configuration. But Jump doesn't back down from a technical challenge, and so we were, this increased our enthusiasm for the project. And so we zoomed out a little bit. That wasn't, originally we were thinking let's work on this canvas, but then we took a step back and we thought about how this NFT could be unlike any other as a type of base, generic primitive for applications and utility. You see, each NFT is minted with an X and a Y coordinate, but could that unique ownership have meaning on more layers than just a 2D canvas? So concretely, right, if you owned the space at 0, 0, you could edit the color of the pixel that was at 0, 0. But what if you could edit a personalized link on the link layer? Or what if you received lumber on the Catan-like game layer? And that's how we saw the project growing, extending. Right? Each new layer, each new application could extend from that space NFT that you minted. And so I just want to be clear that the space NFT is not like all those other collections that we viewed before. It's not a profile picture, right? It's not this static snapshot of culture where we got 5,000 active people in a Discord for 30 minutes. It's more like a smartphone or an operating system that has access to an app store. And so the community can cultivate ideas, they can develop new layers, and space owners, or we're calling this, we're rebranding this as neighbors, will have exclusive access to an evolving and growing ecosystem of extend layers. And so anyone can develop these layers. I want that to be clear. On the blockchain, anyone can write their own layer. And this is, again, this is going back to the Web3 thing, permissionless app creation. There's no rent-seeking middleman who's taking their cut. So we got to get rid of Apple. There's no 30% cut for them. There's no 15% cut for them. So see ya, Tim Cook. And so the question is extend actually a new concept? Or was this, in the words of Matt Levine, some kind of technical, incremental improvement? And the answer is that there are a lot of projects that have been focused on the Canvas idea and blockchain. I'm just going to highlight a few of them because I think there's probably a half dozen or more. But this is one of them. This is the Million Token website. Even before the Reddit subreddit place was around, there was the $1 million homepage back in 2005 where this this student was trying to pay for university. Alex 2, he was trying to pay his way through university, so he minted this, or he created this website where you could pay $1 to get 1 pixel, and he made over $1 million on that. But specifically on the blockchain, we've seen this idea get picked up, and so this project here, the Million Token website, was built on Ethereum, where each 5 by 5 little square of pixels was sold for 0.025 ETH. And you can see here, like about something like 30% were actually sold. And this is a pretty common trend, that the level of granularity is actually not one-to-one. So if they advertise 1,000 by 1,000, it's not actually 1,000 by 1,000 or 1 million NFTs. It's like in this case, it's 40,000 NFTs. And so if you wanted to change your image, you'd have to pay the gas fee on mainnet Ethereum, and that becomes pretty prohibitive. This is another one which sold more, and in this one they sold as 10 by 10 lots. So there are actually only 10,000 pieces total. This one I think started on Matic, and then got translated over to ETH mainnet. And this one was a little weird because every time you bought a space, everything was always listed. Every time you bought a space, the price just doubled. And if someone wanted to rebuy that space, they just had to pay double the amount that you bought it for. But you didn't have any say over that. And anytime they bought it, you just got refunded the amount that you paid for the space. So you could see here like the FTX thing, like someone could just vandalize that by just buying whatever. If they bought that Pixel's little block and wrote sucks, like that's totally doable. So it's not great, like a great user experience, I think. And then I saved the best one for last. This was a dude who we met down in Miami. We were down there for Art Basel and the Hacker House. But there was also an NFT conference we went to. We ran into this dude showing this project. They bill themselves as the first ERC 721 token, 2 squares, which may or may not be true. I didn't really verify that. But each 10 by 10 pixel square is available for 0.5 ETH. But I think this is kind of the best part about it. You can email Sue, you can get an invoice, and pay for it with PayPal. I'm sure maybe you want to put your credit card in, you could probably do that. But obviously not very cheap and not very decentralized. And so I'm going to cut out now, and we're just going to do a quick demo. All right, so I'm just running this locally here, but one of the innovations that one of the features that we built was a CAPTCHA system. Because back when we were minting things at the Solana bootcamp, we had a big issue with, for example, the DGODs. Even though they cost 3 Sol each, there was a lot of marketing hype. A lot of people wanted them for 3 Sol. And I think out of the maybe 10 people in the room that were spamming the buttons and trying to get into that mint, maybe like 2 or 3 of us actually got it. Maybe everyone, the bandwidth was limited or that, but there is a significant amount of botting that goes on, and if you ask Bartosz or Jordan, they could tell you. And so captures is one way, one mechanism to battle that. We've seen some implementations before where it'll just be a capture that'll block clicking a button, but the button, whatever gets sent to the on-chain program is just static. So if you just have that transaction, you could just repeat it as many times as you wanted. So I just want to walk through that process. Here we're going to be minting in this neighborhood to the left. And so we'll mint 100. So I guess just to clarify on the free mint aspect, the idea here is to be as inclusive as possible. If you wanted to mint one of these spaces, what you'd have to do is let me just do that actually. Fill out the CAPTCHA. This is always the potentially embarrassing part. Okay, so I received my space voucher. So that costs 0 to exchange it. If you wanted to mint more than one space, I think we have a limit of 100. But there's a price here that kind of is exponentially shaped so that you could pay that convenience fee and mint more of them faster and not have to solve the CAPTCHAs. Okay, so I'm going to mint, it looks like I have 110 space vouchers. I'm just going to mint those. You can see here on the bottom left, there's like little notifications, and these are things that are going through on the blockchain, which is really neat. So it says 110 out of 110 mints succeeded. Now I'm just going to register these spaces, which under the hood, and for those who have gone through the Solana bootcamp last week, this is basically creating some of those metadata accounts, and you know there is a fee associated with it to make those accounts rent exempt. And so right now it's just there's a little bit of a wait for I think 20 seconds here. So just give that a little bit of time. But I guess just to clarify on the successful. Just to clarify on the CAPTCHA system, the system that we implemented was using Google reCAPTCHA. Essentially, is a server on our end that basically will send you the challenge of how many chimneys are there on this board, and then on a successful completion of that, when you get a successful valid token, it'll serve up the transaction that's necessary. It'll sign the transaction. Our server will with its private key. And that is necessary for the transaction to succeed. So anyone who just has the transaction can't just submit that without the signature from our private server. Okay, so this is one of the examples of what the canvas could be used for. I'm just going to zoom in here. This is basically a chessboard where again, like we're just manipulating one pixel at a time, but in this case we're synchronized, and there's a crank that's turning, which highlights, how a chess game is actually being played. So it kind of gives you like more of a visceral feel for, what is going on under the hood. You can open up the transactions, right? You can look at Solana Explorer or Solscan, pick your favorite one, and see like these RGB values under the hood are changing on the blockchain, and this is just kind of a visualization of that. You can see, like most applications, I'll say on mainnet, and what you can see out there is primarily like DeFi, like you can see numbers change, but in this case, the visualization it makes it feel a little bit more real. Okay, so I'm going to go to my spaces, and so these are the ones that I minted. I can change the color. And so I don't know how long that took, maybe like 3 or 5 seconds. But yeah, it's, once you mint it, you could go and play around with your space. If you wanted to spell hold shift. But yeah, I mean, it basically gives you kind of a canvas to express your artistic ambitions. And you could do this with anyone else, your neighbors, whoever happens to mint things close to you. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect here is like that collaboration. So if I get a message from my friend Robin Hood Refugee, and he says he ran into funding problems, he couldn't finish his image on Extend. So it looks like he was trying to upload a Solana logo here. And I can maybe help him out by, first of all, you can load price, target all purchases. So this is like another key feature here. I don't know to what extent you've dealt with NFTs, OpenSea, Magic Eden, Solana Art, but it's kind of a pain to go to these third-party websites, at least if there's an underlying application. Here we can actually buy and sell right from the canvas, which is way more seamless. I can't even imagine scrolling through without a million listings on OpenSea or what have you. So in this case, I'm targeting all of the spaces that are listed. I load those, and I can click Buy Now. This is intense. All right. So now what I can do is go back to the modify page, and in addition to changing color, you can choose an image. So here I can select the same image that my buddy Robin Hood Refugee wanted to upload. You can see it's coming through, like this is in real time. Things are happening on the blockchain. And so you got a Solana logo out there. So these are just a few of the supported things on the canvas. We also have animations, so you could upload, if you think about it as different images on different frames, we could just loop through those frames and create animations. So that's another feature that we have. As far as things that where we want to take this, so I think going back to the PowerPoint, when we talked about those different layers, we actually have not done too much work on what I mentioned as far as the Settlers of Catan layer or the link layer. But the idea is that we've built something that is extendable, and anyone can contribute to that. So that's really all that I had for this presentation. There are some other things on the roadmap. Rent is one of the biggest ones. So the idea is you own some of these spaces. Maybe they're not all contiguous, but maybe you can just rent out, or I don't know if you want to use the word stake, but in other words, just allow other people to use it, whether it's as a advertising board or for any other reason. Maybe it's on a completely different layer, but you can just rent out your thing and maybe receive some kind of an income stream. So with that, I just want to invite some of the guys who've been working on this project just up here, and I'll open it up to questions. I know we definitely didn't take the full time, but we're open to having a more interactive discussion. So Andy, Jishen, Ani, and Lucas, do you guys want to come up? So do you guys mind just introducing yourselves, and then we'll just open it up. If anyone has questions around the project or technical details, these are the stallions. So have at them. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick? I think it's on.
Hey guys, my name is Andy, and I'm glad to be working on this project.
Hi guys, I'm Ani.
Hey guys, I'm Zhixian.
Hey, I'm Lucas.
Yep. So anyone have any questions? I know we went through a lot. Can you buy and sell spaces? So I didn't demonstrate the listing, but I just bought these spaces over here. I can either select a bunch or I could select any and then set it. Yeah. So yeah, you could buy and sell right from the canvas. Right now we don't support bidding. But that is something that we potentially could. Sorry? All right. That's some good feedback.
Does it have its own token?
So that's still being kind of sussed out, but we are planning on having a token. So that's kind of on the roadmap here. Let me zoom out. You see there's different neighborhoods, and I didn't read it on the Mint page, but essentially the 1,000 by 1,000 grid is going to be kind of like the original set of neighborhoods. But if you wanted to extend beyond there, if you wanted to build out beyond that 5 by 5 grid, we are planning on having the possibility to pay in the extend token or whatever token that we're going to mint in order to own or to commission that neighborhood for someone. So whoever minted that neighborhood would have full control over the mint procedure, would have full control over distribution of those spaces. And so the extend token would kind of license or commission that neighborhood for any other party. It could be a NFT DAO or a specific protocol or what have you. What's up, Joe? So that's a really good question. I think it at 20. I actually did this math yesterday. With the cost of Sol at about 140 and running a move every 20 seconds, it comes out to something like $30 or 0.22 Sol per hour. Yeah. Here, do you mind just passing the mic to him?
Right here, sorry. I might just be old, but I'm missing sort of the underlying value of doing this. I'm sorry to ask this question, but
Yeah.
I just don't get, like, why were you asking if you could bid on this? Like, I don't understand.
Why would
If you could elucidate to me, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a totally fair question. I would say that looking back at what's the value of eyeballs in the first place, right? I think the Reddit project kind of highlighted the fact that there was power culturally in being able to collaborate. I'm talking specifically for the canvas piece, but to create a collaborative artwork piece, not just available to registered Reddit users, but to do it decentralized. I could create a new wallet and mint. It's not tied back to me specifically, but to be able to emulate that process and do it on the Solana blockchain is a powerful concept. And that's not even thinking about the broader applications. Again, this is an open, like app store, if you want to think of it that way. Anyone can build a new layer that's permissioned by the space NFT. So if someone wanted to create a game where, if you're close, or like the game of life, or anything that had some geographic nature to it, they could do that on the board and just register a new layer. And those people who owned the spaces underneath would have control over that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
So, so there are like two sources of values that I can think of. So first of all, financially, you can think of it as a real estate in metaverse. So this is a 1 million number of NFTs, but in the end of the day, it's gonna be like infinite land. We can extend like arbitrarily many neighborhoods, and each pixel becomes a real estate. When you own this thing, you own all the like application layers above it, and potentially you can trade, you can like rent to like create your own profit. And on the other hand side, socially, each neighborhood becomes a society, and you can think of it as a group of people want to create their own artwork collaboratively, and maybe create their own applications, their own games, and think of the game of Catan. People can play with each other and have fun together. So socially, it's also valuable. Yeah, that's my way of thinking about it.
All right, Joe, what's your next question?
Have you thought at all about having like a DAO where people can like the application of that at all, right?
Lucas, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so the value of the platform basically accrues from the things that are built on top of it. And you could imagine easily a DAO per layer, whereby the maybe the rent from the spaces accrues to the owners of the spaces. But on the different layers that were built by developers, you could have DAOs controlling them, you could have a common set of tools contributing to them. So essentially, everybody trying to collectively raise both the value of the platform itself and the things that you can do by collaborating on it.
What's up?
Could you talk a little bit about the fear of, let's say, lewd images getting uploaded and it getting tied back to us?
Right.
Just like how we thought about that. I think that's helpful from evolution.
I have this. Yeah, that's definitely a concern. I think for the folks who are deploying it, I guess just to maybe make folks aware, it's not Jump that is kind of deploying this contract or operating this canvas. We are acting as collaborators, and we're pushing code to an open source repo. The repo is there out there in the wild, and you can take a look. But we partnered with kind of the Extend team and some folks out of Hong Kong and Possible Finance to actually take on this project as a deployer, as an operator. And we have given thought about the censorship issues. There are some obviously very salient issues that could happen. I think even in the examples that I used, if you look hard enough, you'll see some not, NSFW kind of stuff. But there's obviously degrees of that as well. There's NSFW, and then there's stuff that, the FBI will come after you for. So I think thinking about those things is important. We've kind of thrown around ideas for censorship. We haven't actually gotten to implementing stuff, but there's obviously some sensitivity around how decentralized or how much censorship is a touchy subject. And I think one idea that we had was to kind of designate certain things as either NSFW, and maybe the user could opt in. Maybe there's never safe, child pornography, never safe, and then we just will always kind of blank that out on our front end. But it's still under there on the blockchain. Like, someone could upload whatever they want on the blockchain. And then we kind of just on the top layer just kind of censor that out. Or maybe there's like an NSFW mode where you have to opt into that and agree to that this is something that you want to see. All good? All right. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for your attention. I guess one thing that I'll say is if you were here for the for the Solana bootcamp last week, and you are interested in building, this is just one example of stuff that Jump Crypto is involved in. And part of the goal of this conference was to talk a little inside baseball and peel back the kimono. This is not a public forum, obviously, and if you're interested in building, you should come talk to us. When I first started at Jump Crypto, this is 9 months ago, it was 50 or 60 folks, and now we're I think at over 120 or something around those numbers. So it's been astronomical growth, and there's still a lot of wood to be chopped. So if you are looking for that opportunity, feel free to reach out.